I'm not that fragile. That's what I learned from today's shadow work episode. Maybe it's true for you too. This is for my fellow shadow workers, people going through the inner processes, doing the self work. It might not make sense to everybody. And I'll be sharing my own process, my shadow work process of today. And what I imagine you might get out of this video is just a feeling of, okay, I'm not the only one doing this crazy thing, by hearing me talk about my experiences. Or you might also be able to work with this insight or something that I've found along the way that maybe lives within you too. It's something for you to work on as well. And the main insight that I got was, I'm not that fragile. I don't need to be so protective of myself. I don't need to be so afraid. I can handle things. I can handle life more than I think. You know, it's this belief system change that needs to happen inside. I got here by conversation with my mother today. It's a bit confrontative. Gosh, we're in a difficult situation. And I sat in the garden later. I was really trying to find, how do I get this breakthrough? Where can I find, how can I get past this block? And I tried to find some track for some possibilities, and then I heard this voice inside that said, let your light shine. Let your light shine in the deepest, darkest parts of yourself. And so I tried. Tried to feel that light inside and push it out and expand it. Let it come to any place that needed it. And what came up was fear. It's funny, right? You're just shining light inside of yourself and fear comes up. Why would I be afraid of letting light into myself? But what came up was fear of speaking up. Fear of speaking up about controversial things. Which every time I say, you know what, I don't need to talk about the controversial things. I don't need to talk about politics anymore. And every time when I really try to look for how can I get through my block, it's like, you're afraid to talk about that, right? Yeah. So I guess I kind of need to then, huh? Or am I still letting go? It's always so elusive. What direction do you go, right? I keep following the process. Anyways, I was pushing more light in. Feeling the pressure and but feeling good. It's like charging something up and it kind of felt like we have this thing called integrating your shadow, and it almost felt a bit like integrating the light, like letting my light side back in somehow. I've been doing quite some embracing of the shadow for a while now, and I felt kind of like, I don't know if this is going to make sense, but like I was letting my not shadow back in a way. Maybe it's just positive side of shadow, right? But like I was letting my own sense of responsibility back in, my own higher guidance back in. Yeah. Anyways, I was doing that. Eventually I went inside to go eat something, and then this insight came, like, what if I'm not that fragile? What if I'm not that fragile? It had something to do with the food, I don't remember, but I started tracking, like, where does this idea come from, right? Because apparently there's this belief inside me that maybe it's being invited to change. Do I have this belief that I'm fragile? And in tracking through my life, through this previous lifetime in this body, as I like to call it, the first 25 years of my life, there's a lot of things that kind of managed, I think, to confirm this idea that I'm fragile. I can see how this already happened before my birth, when my mother considered for a moment to do an abortion because she was afraid when I came. She had a good talk with one of her teachers and heard that if a baby comes, they've chosen that life. They know what they're choosing. So they want that life. So don't worry, because my mother was mostly worried that I was coming into this broken relationship that she had with my father at the time. And that wouldn't be particularly great for me, right? But once her teacher told her, well, if they are in your belly right now, then they chose that. Then she could accept it. And she could embrace that I was coming. But of course, the sensitive soul inside may still have felt that. So I feel like that's probably the initial thing. At 5, my parents divorced. And all of a sudden, my life changed beyond my control. That's an indicator. At 13, I started getting bullied. Significant physical abuse, you might call that. So it's definitely another confirmation experience of being fragile. And throughout my youth and childhood, people would always tell me I look skinny. Maybe you need to eat some more. Maybe you need to have some meat. And so I guess that's another one that really confirmed that idea of being fragile. And then there's all the times that I had accidents playing soccer or doing other physical things. I would get my arm broken, my ribs bruised, my thumb bruised, at many of these occasions. So all of that and more stacking up to this idea of being fragile. But I'm not fragile. I can let go of that old belief. There's these things that can build up within us if we let them, until we really get to the bottom of realizing, wait a second, maybe that's not true anymore. I'd already been working a bit with this idea that I felt like the world was dangerous, like the outside world was dangerous. There were so many threats always, like all that car exhaust with their toxins and all these other toxins in the world and all these broken systems and broken people. That you could feel that the outside world is dangerous. Do you ever feel that? I'd certainly noticed that something that was still living within me. Can't say it's gone yet. And so I did some work on that. But what I'm realizing now is this is a different angle to look at it. We can work on understanding that the world outside is safe, that we don't have to see the outside world as dangerous. But whenever we're working on tackling a difficult to transform belief, it can be good to see, okay, we can come at it from this angle, and we can do some work with that, and that can help. And then sometimes the path of least resistance leads us to work at it from a different angle to gain more progress. And so this was a different angle now to see, okay, maybe to an extent there's danger out in the world, right? Maybe there are threats out in the world, but I'm not that fragile. I'm not below average threatened by the threats, by the dangers. Because I'm not that fragile. I'm above average, capable of handling it, whatever it is. To embrace the growth that I've had over the years now, that have become stronger. I have seen my own capability more. I'm not that fragile. At least not anymore. Maybe I never was. Maybe it's just a belief that got caught in there that had to be worked on. Maybe it was a past life thing. But either way, by now I can say I'm not that fragile. I had a period where I figured out that certain foods were problematic, and I lost a lot of weight, and I went through this dark night of feeling afraid for my life. And I managed to get through that. But that's certainly something that stuck with me, this feeling that I need to protect myself from getting underweight, right? I need to always feed myself, make sure I have enough food. Because I'm fragile in that regard, And I think it's really time, it's been 7 years now, to let go of that idea. That's what I feel is one of the things that's really being triggered to. I'm really being triggered to release that now. I'm not fragile in that regard. I can be fine with how I eat and how much I manage to eat. And what a work this is, isn't it? What a process. Maybe you have a totally different one, but I hope you can sort of see the patterns or somehow relate this to your own experience in a way that's helpful. Perhaps it triggers something, triggers thoughts. This video was not meant to leave you with answers, only questions. Something to trigger your process, something to get you thinking, feeling. So I guess I'll leave it at that. If you're still here, I'm impressed. Thank you for spending this time with me. This was a bit, real and raw, weird. But, yeah. If anybody is hearing this, then apparently it was somehow useful or nice to listen to, I hope. And so, yeah. For you as well, realize you don't have to be so fragile. Maybe you do need to go through a period of embracing that you get to be fragile. I certainly did for many years, and it has been helpful to embrace that sense of, there is parts of me that are fragile, and I need to care for them and nurture them. But then there does come a time when you can say, okay, I think I've healed those parts enough now. I think I've cared for those soul parts enough that I can now let them step back into strength. Let myself step back into strength in that regard. I'm not that fragile. You're not that fragile. You can handle this. You got this. You can handle life. You can be strong. You can do things. You can take something, because you've done this work. You've done this work and you can handle some things now. You are above average strong, above average able to face the challenges. So don't let the old wounds hold you back. But step into your strength. Let the light shine within you. Let the light shine into your deepest and darkest places. It feels good. Let the old release. Let yourself shine and step into your strength, because you are not that fragile. I love you. Thank you for spending this time with me. And I'll see you another time.